She was a single mom just trying to keep her life together. He was the quiet school janitor who always looked out for her little boy. But what began as small acts of kindness soon stirred something deeper. She never imagined that the man tying her son's shoelaces secretly owned the entire education group behind the school. A story of hidden truths, gentle love, and the power of showing up when it matters most. It was raining hard again, the kind of relentless, sideways rain that soaked your shoes in seconds and turned school mornings into survival drills. Maya Carter pulled her small sedan into the staff lot, tires hissing on wet pavement. Her son, Noah, age 6, bounced in the back seat with a lunchbox in his lap and one shoelace dragging like a flag of surrender. "We are late. Again," Maya muttered as she grabbed her bag and Noah's raincoat. "One flat tire and it is a full disaster." She hustled across the lot with Noah in tow, dodging puddles, juggling her umbrella, backpack, and paperwork folder. By the time they reached the front steps of Westbridge Elementary, both were damp, breathless, and laughing just a little. And then, just inside the door, it happened. Noah tripped. One shoelace had finally had enough and wrapped itself around his ankle mid-run. He stumbled, dropping his lunchbox with a clatter. But before Maya could reach him, someone else did. A man in dark coveralls crouched with a steady hand and calm smile, caught Noah by the elbow and steadied him. "Looks like the shoelace monster got you," the man said, already kneeling to tie the flopping laces. "We better double knot these so it does not come back for round 2. Noah giggled. "What does a shoelace monster eat?" The janitor leaned in conspiratorially. "Mostly socks, but sometimes toes if the shoes are stinky." Noah shrieked with delight, and Maya, watching from a few feet away, blinked in surprise. The janitor stood, brushing water off his knees. Tall, lean, with silver just beginning to touch his temples, he looked younger than most of the staff assumed janitors should look. His eyes were bright, kind, and curious. "Thank you," Maya said, catching her breath. "If this school gave medals, I would nominate you for shoelace rescues." He smiled, not cocky, just amused. "Only if I get a cape, too." Maya raised an eyebrow. "I will see what I can do. Maybe red satin?" "Matches my mop." He walked off down the hallway, pushing his cart of supplies, whistling softly as he disappeared around the corner. Maya watched him go, then turned to Noah, who was still grinning. "Who was that?" she asked. Noah shrugged. "Mr. Ben. He is nice." Maya glanced back down the hall and murmured under her breath, "Mr. Secret Hero, more like." And just like that, the day had begun, wet, late, and maybe, just maybe, a little bit brighter than expected. The days that followed passed with a quiet rhythm, like the gentle ticking of a clock only you could hear. Noah's shoelaces never came undone again. Somehow, Mr. Ben was always nearby. At recess, he was the one who fixed the chain on Noah's bicycle when it slipped. In the lunchroom, he magically appeared with an extra spoon when Noah dropped his. When a ball bounced too far across the field, Ben fetched it before the kids could shout. He never made a scene. He never asked for praise. He just showed up. Like clockwork, like someone who noticed what others missed. Maya noticed. She pretended not to at first, busy with check-in forms and late parent calls at the front desk, but her eyes always followed Noah, and when they followed Noah, they often landed on Ben. He did not speak much to adults, not to the teachers, not to the principal, but with the children, especially Noah, there was something soft in the way he knelt to their height, something patient in how he listened. One afternoon, Maya spotted him from the window of the office. Ben was helping Noah re-zip his backpack after lunch, crouching beside him in the hallway. Noah was talking animatedly. Ben nodded as if Noah's story was the most important news in the world. Maya smiled. Then she grabbed a sticky note and scribbled quickly. "Here a janitor quote of the day. With great mops comes great responsibility." He snuck out and stuck it to the closet door he used as his supply room. The next morning, it was gone. The day after, she left another. Raking. Janitor defeats evil dust bunnies in 4th grade hallway. More at 11. That one made it onto his cart. By the end of the week, she had a notepad dedicated entirely to janitor quotes. She pretended it was for Noah. It was not. They started talking more. Small exchanges between classes, quick comments during staff meetings. One afternoon, she found him wiping down cafeteria tables. He looked up, holding the latest sticky note in his gloved hand. "You write these during work hours?" he asked with a small smile. Maya raised her eyebrows. "Nope. This is premium after-bedtime comedy. I charge extra for laminated versions." He chuckled. It was a good sound. Low, warm, real. Then silence again. Comfortable. She leaned on the doorframe and studied him. "You ever think about doing something different?" He looked up. "Different how?" "I do not know. Something other than this." Ben paused, wiping his hands on a rag. "There is a difference between doing something small and doing something that matters." That stuck with her. It would replay in her mind later, when the days were long and the silence at home felt loud. Maya did not have much. She had her job at the school, her old car that worked on most days, and her son. Noah had been born during the hardest year of her life. The father had left before the ultrasound, her parents both gone by the time she was 27. She had clawed her way through night shifts, weekend gigs, and enough overtime to memorize the smell of fluorescent lighting. And somehow, she had managed to keep laughter in the house. Noah never saw her cry. But some nights, when he had fallen asleep on the couch, with cartoons still playing, she would curl up in bed and wonder how long she could hold it all together. And yet, here she was, still holding. And now there was this man. This strange, kind janitor, who seemed to understand more than he said. She never saw him check a phone, never heard him talk about anyone else, but he knew the names of every child in the building, knew which teachers forgot to bring lunch, knew when Maya's eyes looked a little more tired than usual. One morning she came in early, only to find a steaming cup of her favorite coffee waiting on her desk. No note, no explanation, just the exact amount of cream and sugar she liked. She asked the staff, no one claimed it. Later that day, she passed Ben in the hall. He simply nodded. Her heart did not race. It did not need to. It simply leaned. But Maya was careful, always careful. She knew better than to fall for smiles and warmth. Still, late at night, she found herself thinking about the way Ben looked at Noah, as if the boy was more than someone to clean up after, as if he mattered. And when she thought about that, she felt something she was not used to feeling. And safe. But safety, she reminded herself, was just a pause between storms. And no one, especially not her, got more than a moment of calm before life picked up the winds again. By mid-October, the sticky notes had become tradition. Each morning, Maya would stick one somewhere along Ben's route, a supply cart handle, the back of the janitor closet door, sometimes taped to the mop itself. Breaking news, mysterious janitor spotted carrying emotional support broom. Ben would never mention them directly. He would just smirk slightly when they passed in the hallway, or give a low, amused nod if she raised an eyebrow in his direction. Their banter was quiet, private, unspoken, but it gave rhythm to her days. And people noticed. It began harmlessly, light teasing from the office secretary. "So, you and Mr. Ben, huh?" she said one morning, stirring her coffee. Maya looked up from the printer, confused. "Me and who?" The secretary grinned. "Come on, the notes, the coffee, the hallway smiles. I am not blind." Maya chuckled, brushing it off. "He is good with Noah. I leave jokes, that is all." But then it spread. By the following week, 2 teachers giggled when Ben walked past the lounge while Maya happened to be inside. "I heard she is into him," one whispered, not so softly. "She is cute, but clearly desperate. Single moms always are." The words hit like a slap through glass. Maya kept her back turned, kept her smile steady, pretended to laugh at something in the work binder in front of her, but the blood in her cheeks burned. Desperate. She had been called worse. She had ignored worse. but something about the way it was said, dismissive, patronizing, made the walls around her heart climb just a little higher. After that, she changed. She arrived earlier, avoided the hallways during Ben's usual rounds, kept the sticky notes in her purse instead of posting them. When she passed him, she gave short nods instead of teasing remarks. At lunch, she sat closer to the assistant principal than the coffee machine. Feeling intact, Ben noted. At first, he just watched from a distance. Less frequent eye contact, slower greetings. But on Thursday, when she passed him without a word, he called out softly, "Maya." She paused, but did not turn. He stepped closer, his voice quieter now. "Did I do something wrong?" She forced a smile, tightening the grip on her clipboard. "Not you, just me being realistic." He blinked, puzzled. "Realistic about what?" She shrugged. "About how the world sees things, about the limits of hallway comedy." She turned and walked off before he could say anything else. The day passed slowly. She hated that she missed it, the banter, the quiet comfort of someone who noticed. She hated how easy it had been to lean on him, and how exposed she felt now that others had looked too closely. And she hated most of all that Ben had not chased after her, that he had simply stood there, quiet, respectful, and let her go. That night, after putting Noah to bed, she stared at the unused sticky notes on her nightstand. The top one read, "Today's janitor wisdom. Never trust a mop that squeaks. It is clearly keeping secrets." She peeled it off slowly, folded it, threw it in the trash. Not because it was not funny, but because she was tired of being the punchline. The following Monday, the sky was gray again. It had rained all weekend, one of those cold, bone-deep rains that made everything feel heavier. Maya came in early, hoping to avoid the lounge, the whispers, the looks. She made it to the front desk without incident, and buried herself in enrollment forms and cafeteria slips. The building buzzed to life around her. Footsteps, lockers, ringing bells. But she stayed still, small, unnoticed. Until she heard her name. She had only stepped into the hallway to make a quick copy when the voice stopped her, just outside the staff lounge. "You have to admit, it is kind of pathetic," a teacher muttered, not knowing. Maya stood just beyond the door. "She flirts with him like she does not know he mops floors," another said, giggling. "Maybe she is hoping he will clean up her love life too." Maya froze. But before she could move, another voice cut in, low, calm, and unmistakably his. "It is enough." Silence. Then Ben spoke again, louder. "You do not get to laugh at someone who shows up for her kid every single day. She is raising one of the kindest boys in this school on her own. That is not desperation, that is strength." Maya's breath caught. No one replied. The door creaked open, and Ben stepped out. He stopped when he saw her. Neither of them spoke. She looked at him, his steady gaze, his quiet fire. And part of her wanted to fall into it, to say thank you, to cry, to laugh, to kiss him right there in the hallway. Instead, she turned. Later that day, she found him in the courtyard sweeping wet leaves off the walkway. She stood behind him for a moment before clearing her throat. "You did not have to do that," she said. He turned slowly. "Yes, I did." She shook her head. "You cannot fight every battle for me." His voice softened. "Maybe you should not have to fight them alone." That made her angry, for no reason she could explain. "It is not your job to protect me," she snapped. "I know. Then why do you keep doing it?" He paused. "Because I care." She blinked, unsteady. "And I thought, you did too?" The words were not aggressive, they were barely above a whisper, but they landed with full force. Maya looked away. "I cannot afford to believe in things like that." "Like what?" "Like people meaning what they say." Ben looked at her for a long time. Then with a small nod he turned back to his broom. She walked away before her voice could break. That night she found another sticky note in the pocket of her coat. "Even the strongest need someone to hold the umbrella sometimes." She folded it once, then again. And for the first time since meeting Ben, she tucked it into her wallet instead of throwing it away. It was the kind of morning Maya dreaded most. Noah woke up hot to the touch, eyes glassy, cheeks flushed. He curled into her side and whispered, "My tummy hurts." She kissed his forehead, burning. But her shift started in 25 minutes, and she had already missed 2 days this month when Noah had a cold. She did not have the kind of job that offered backup. No family nearby, no neighbor to call on short notice. By the time she carried Noah into the school's nurse's office, he was limp with fatigue. "I will come back the second I can get away from the front," she promised, brushing his hair back. He nodded, brave as always. "Okay, Mommy." And then she went back to the front desk and did what single mothers have always done. She survived. She took calls, she sorted attendance, she smiled through the blur. Every 10 minutes she checked the time. She told herself Noah would be fine for just a few hours. The nurse would call if anything changed. But when she finally ran back at lunch break, the nurse's desk was empty, and Noah was not in the cot. Panic seized her. She hurried down the hall, her voice rising. "Noah? Nurse Clara?" She turned the corner and stopped. There they were. In the quiet reading room beside the library, Noah was curled on a beanbag chair, resting against someone's chest. He was seated on the floor with Noah nestled against him, a book open in one hand. His other hand gently rubbed slow, soothing circles on the boy's back. Harold said was having trouble resting in the nurse's room. Ben said without looking up, "Too many fluorescent lights. I asked if I could try something different." Maya stepped closer, her voice thin. "You found him like this." "No, he found me," Ben said gently. "I was walking past. He called out." Her heart sank and softened all at once. She knelt beside them. Noah stirred slightly, blinking. "Hi, Mommy," he mumbled. She kissed his hair. "Hi, sweetheart." Ben handed her the book. He liked this one. She took it without reading the title, just held it. There was a silence then, thick with everything unspoken. She turned to Ben. "Why do you keep doing this?" His brow furrowed. Doing what? Helping, stepping in, fixing things. He looked at her for a long moment. "Because I cannot stand watching you do it alone." Her breath caught. "That is not your burden," she whispered. "I do not see it as a burden," he said. Maya's guard went up, sharp and immediate. "This is real life, Ben. This is not a fairy tale. I do not need someone to play rescue." He stayed calm. "I am not trying to rescue anyone." "Then what are you doing?" she asked, more bitter than she meant. He hesitated, then said quietly, "I care." Those 2 words again, too gentle, too honest. She stood up quickly. "I need to take Noah home." He nodded, stood slowly, helping her without touching her. Noah reached for Ben as they left. "You can come too." Ben smiled, but shook his head. "Not today, buddy." Maya held Noah tighter. She did not look back. That night, when Noah was finally asleep, she sat in the living room with a glass of water and an ache she could not name. She wanted to scream. At the world, at herself, at the fact that every time something good showed up, she questioned it until it went away. She had spent years building a life with no gaps, because gaps meant disappointment could slip in, but Ben had slipped in anyway, not through a grand gesture, not with flowers or promises, with shoelaces, with muffins, with quiet care that asked for nothing. And that terrified her more than anything else. The next day, Ben was not there. Not in the hallway, not in the courtyard, not outside the cafeteria during cleanup. No mop bucket, no quiet humming, no gentle nods from across the room. At first Maya thought maybe he had the day off. Everyone was entitled to a break. But then another day passed, and another. By Thursday, the rumors had started. "Did you hear?" the secretary said. "Mr. Ben's taken a leave of absence. Something about family matters." No, someone else added. I heard he quit, just up and walked out. Maya said nothing. She typed quietly at her desk, pretending not to hear. But her chest felt hollow. Noah noticed too. He walked slower on the way in, kept looking around corners. At lunch, he whispered, "Where's Mr. Ben?" Maya forced a smile. Maybe he is on vacation. Noah frowned. But he did not say goodbye. That night, while cleaning out her purse, Maya found an old sticky note she had forgotten. Janitor philosophy, 18. Some people clean messes. Some people stay and make sure they never happen again. Her throat tightened. The next morning, she left a note in the janitor's closet anyway, just in case. No reply. On Friday, Noah brought home a drawing from art class. It showed a man with a mop in one hand and a superhero cape fluttering behind him. In bright red crayon, Noah had written, "Mr. Ben is a hero." Maya taped it to the fridge, then cried over the sink while the pasta water boiled. She had spent so long keeping the world at arm's length, she had not realized how close he had gotten. And now he was gone. The email arrived on Monday morning, tucked between parent pickup requests and cafeteria inventory updates. Subject: Confidential. Meeting request. Education Board Executive Visit. From Superintendent's Office. To Maya Carter. It was brief, formal. She was to report to Conference Room B at 12 o'clock sharp. No explanation, no context. Maya stared at it for a long moment. She had not done anything wrong, at least she hoped not, but her stomach knotted anyway. The morning dragged. Her fingers fumbled over phone calls. She spilled coffee on a field trip form and had to reprint the whole stack. Noah's teacher passed by during a break and gave her a soft smile. He is quiet today. Says he misses his friend with the broom. Maya nodded, throat too tight to reply. At 11:55, she took a deep breath, straightened her blouse, and headed to Conference Room B. Inside, a long table stood polished and empty. At the far end, two unfamiliar faces, men in suits, board members maybe, sat reviewing paperwork. Neutral, one of them stood. "Miss Carter, thank you for coming." She nodded slowly. "Of course. Is something wrong?" "Not at all. We wanted to speak with you briefly before introducing you to someone. A representative of the education group." Maya blinked. "Why? I am just a front desk staff member." The man smiled politely. "You are a very observant one." Before she could ask more, the door opened behind her. Footsteps. She turned and froze. Ben stood there. Except he was not Ben. He wore a tailored charcoal gray suit, crisp white shirt, no tie. Clean-shaven, composed, confident. But it was him. The same eyes. The same quiet gravity. Only now, undeniably, he was someone else. "Maya," he said gently. Her voice barely came. "What is this?" He stepped forward, slowly. "My name is Benjamin Lewis," he said, careful with every word. "I am the founder and CEO of the Lewis Education Group." Silence filled the room like a wave. Maya stared at him, heart pounding. "No," she said, backing up a step. "No, what is this? A game? A test?" "Neither," he said. "It is the truth. I have been here under an alias, stepping away from boardrooms and audits. I wanted to see our schools through different eyes." She shook her head. "You were the janitor." "I was," he said. "I needed to remember why I built these schools, why I started this work at all. Somewhere along the way, I lost touch with it." Maya's chest ached. "Namely me," she whispered. "Why Noah?" Ben swallowed. "Because helping your son reminded me of why I started any of this. Because you reminded me what it looks like when someone gives everything without expecting anything back." Tears stung the corners of her eyes. "You let me think I was imagining things," she said. "You let me doubt myself." "I never meant to," he said. "I just Wanted to be someone real, not a title. You lied. I hid, he corrected gently, because if I had told you the truth on day one, you never would have looked at me the way you did. The board members rose quietly and left the room, leaving them alone. Ben stepped closer. I will leave if you want me to. I will walk away. But I needed you to know who I am. All of me. Maya looked at him, tears slipping free now. And for the first time, she did not feel small in someone else's story. She felt seen. She felt furious. And she felt terrified because she still loved the man who tied her son's shoelaces before he ever revealed the size of his bank account. For 3 days, Maya said nothing. She went to work. She checked attendance, answered phones, laughed at children's jokes, and tucked Noah into bed with the same bedtime stories. But inside, she was unraveling. Benjamin had been real, kind, steady. He had cared for Noah with more tenderness than anyone since her parents. He had seen her, heard her, but he had also hidden from her. On the 4th night, she found herself sitting at the kitchen table long after Noah had gone to sleep. The drawing he had made, Mr. Ben is a hero, still hung on the fridge. She stared at it, fingers trembling. And then she got up, found her purse, and drove. She did not know exactly where she was going, only that she could not stay quiet any longer. The Lewis Foundation's headquarters sat on a hill overlooking the city, all clean glass and purposeful landscaping. It looked like a place that did not make room for feelings. But when she asked the receptionist if Mr. Lewis was available, the woman smiled and nodded. "He is expecting you." Maya blinked. He was waiting. The elevator ride to the top floor felt longer than most of her work weeks. Her reflection stared back at her from the brushed metal walls. Tired eyes, wind-blown hair. A woman who had come too far to pretend she felt nothing. When the doors opened, he was there. No suit this time. Just jeans and a sweater. He looked like Ben again. "Maya." "I almost turned around," she said. He nodded. "I would not have blamed you." "I was angry." "No. I still am." "I know that too." She walked toward the window and stood in silence, looking at the skyline. "You know what hurt?" she said softly. "It was not that you are rich or powerful. It was that I thought we were equals." He stepped beside her. "We always were. I was the one afraid you would not believe that." She looked at him then, really looked. "You tied my son's shoelaces." He smiled, a little crooked. "Not the worst resume line." "And you fixed his backpack, waited with him when he was sick, sat with me when no one else did." His voice softened. "That was not an act, Maya. That was me." She nodded slowly. "I do not need a man with money," she said. "I need someone who shows up." "I will keep showing up," he said. She folded her arms. "I am not good at trusting people. I'm not asking for all of it at once, just one step." She looked at him, heart full and scared and hopeful all at once. "I brought you something," she said, reaching into her purse. She handed him a folded sticky note. Janitor quote 23, "Some people mop floors, some people mop hearts." He read it, then laughed. "Does that mean I get my cape now?" She smiled through tears. "Maybe." A month later, on a bright Saturday, the 3 of them stood on a grassy hill outside a quiet school building. Noah held a kite string, laughing as the wind took it higher. Ben held his other hand. Maya watched them both. She never thought life would give her this. Not safety, not partnership, not someone who loved both her and her child without conditions. But here it was. Messy. Earned. Real. She walked over and bumped her shoulder, lightly, into Ben's. "For a CEO," she said, "you are still a pretty good janitor." He looked down at her, eyes bright. "Best job I ever had." Then he knelt beside Noah, adjusting the kite string. "I am hoping to get promoted," he added. Maya tilted her head. "To what?" He smiled. "As stepdad. If this love story touched your heart, please take a moment to like the video and leave a comment. We truly love reading every single one. Which part moved you the most? And more importantly, where in the world are you watching from? Whether you are in New York, Nairobi, or New Delhi, we are so glad you are here. This channel is home to soul-stirring stories, emotional stories, touching stories, and heartwarming stories that remind us kindness matters, love finds us when we least expect it, and sometimes, the janitor owns the building. Subscribe now for more stories that stay with you long after the final scene.